I never thought I'd find myself standing in front of that towering glass high-rise again, its windows glittering under the golden city lights, its entrance dressed with towering floral displays. Guests in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos stepped out of black cars laughing and basking in the glow of their own importance. This wasn't my world, and yet, here I was, Claudia's wedding, my ex-wife, the woman I'd spent years trying to forget, until her handwritten invitation arrived. 4 words, "I hope you'll attend." No explanation, no signature, just those words, every curve of her handwriting deliberate. Part of me wanted to throw it away. But curiosity has a way of dragging a man where he doesn't belong. So I came. The ballroom was another universe. Chandeliers spilled light like waterfalls. Waiters glided through marble-floored aisles, champagne flutes in hand. A string quartet played something elegant, forgettable. And there, in the center of it all, was Claudia, poised, radiant, powerful. She had built this world piece by piece. This was her kingdom. She wasn't alone. His name was Richard, a finance mogul, her new husband. His arm was possessive around her waist, his laugh loud and calculated. I'd seen his face on magazine covers next to hers. He radiated success, or at least the kind people worship in skyscrapers. Then he saw me. For a second, I thought he might look away, pretend I wasn't there. Instead, he walked straight toward me and said with a smirk, "You're a middle school dropout, right?" I didn't flinch. "Do yourself a favor," he added. "Cut ties with my wife." I studied his face. He thought I was some relic, a shadow from Claudia's past, someone to dismiss. I could have said something, lashed out. But I just smiled, because he had no idea who he was talking to. Once, Claudia and I were inseparable. Back when the world was smaller and simpler, when she believed in love, not leverage. We met as teenagers, her from the world of ambition and order, me from chaos and sound. I lived for music. The piano was my compass, my voice. She said it made her feel alive. "You don't have to follow their rules," I told her once. She smiled and said, "I want the best for us." I believed her. But as we grew older, love became negotiation. My songs became irresponsible. To her, life needed structure, promotions, degrees. I became an inconvenience. The end didn't come with shouting, just a quiet sentence. "This isn't working." She left. I let her go. She built an empire. I disappeared into the music, playing in jazz bars, street corners, grand halls. I never looked back, until tonight. Why did she invite me? I stood at the edge of the crowd, letting the night buzz around me, until I heard a voice at my side. Marcus, Claudia's brother. Unlike his sister, Marcus never judged. He used to sneak into my gigs, hiding in the back, watching my hands fly across the keys. "Curiosity?" he asked, raising a brow. I smirked. Something like that. He glanced at Richard. "He doesn't know who you are, does he?" "No," I said. Marcus chuckled. "You could ruin him with a sentence. That's the fun part." Just then, Richard raised his voice, projecting it across the ballroom. "Why is someone like you even here?" He wanted everyone to hear. I turned to face him slowly, my expression unreadable. "This event is for people of status," he added. There it was, the arrogance, the belief that worth came from wealth. I could have buried him with a name, with a truth. Instead, I laughed quietly. "What's so funny?" he snapped. "You think status is about the suit you wear or the size of your paycheck," I said. "That's cute." His face darkened. "You're nobody." That was the joke. He truly believed it. Marcus leaned closer to him and said just loud enough, "You really don't know who he is, do you?" Richard faltered. The smirk slipped. I took a sip of my drink and turned away. Let him stew. He'd find out soon enough. She was structured, disciplined, always chasing the next goal. At first, she admired my free spirit. She'd sit beside me while I played, eyes dreamy, as if the music pulled her somewhere softer. But admiration faded, turned into frustration. "You need a plan," she'd say. "You can't just play music forever and hope life works out." She wanted something I wasn't, and I didn't argue. Didn't try to change her mind. I just let her go. While she climbed the corporate ladder, I packed my bags. I played jazz in smoky clubs, on street corners, in underground bars where no one was hunting the next big thing. They just wanted to feel something. And that's what my music did. I never chased money, but it came anyway. Slowly, then suddenly. Viral videos, sold-out shows, a global fan base. But I never flaunted it. I just played. And now, years later, I was standing in her world again, at Claudia's wedding. Her new husband, Richard, sneered at me, mocking the middle school dropout. Without the faintest clue, he was talking down to a man who could buy and sell his entire empire 10 times over. Marcus, always quiet but sharp, stood beside me. His eyes didn't give much away, but I saw the flicker of amusement when Richard opened his mouth. "You really don't know who he is, do you?" Marcus said, voice calm but edged. Richard frowned. "What the hell are you talking about?" I chuckled and sipped my drink. "Nothing," I said, then turned away. He'd find out soon enough. The ceremony had ended. The reception was in full swing. Champagne glasses clinked. Guests murmured about business deals, luxury homes, hedge funds. The orchestra played something elegant, forgettable. I stayed at the edge of it all, a ghost from a different life, until Claudia approached. She looked exactly as I remembered, poised, elegant, the very image of curated success. Even her dress was a statement, expensive but restrained. Perfect. "You came," she said softly, as if she didn't expect me to. I did. She hesitated, maybe wondering why, maybe wondering who I'd become. Then he arrived. Richard. Arrogant, possessive, wrapping an arm around her like she was territory, not a person. "Listen, dropout," he sneered. "My wife doesn't need someone like you hanging around. Cut ties, move on." I smiled, slow, then pulled out my phone. "All right," I said. "I'll start by closing my $700 million account at your bank." The room froze. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Even the orchestra faltered. Richard's smirk slipped. "What?" he stammered. I glanced at Claudia. Her fingers trembled around her glass, her face pale. "You heard me," I said. $700 million. Your wife's the CEO. She'll handle it." Silence. The kind that fills a room and tightens every breath. Marcus let out a low whistle. Damn. Richard's mouth opened, closed. "You're lying." Claudia looked at me, fear creeping into her eyes. "You're joking, right?" I shrugged, slipping my phone away. "Why would I joke? Your husband wants me gone. I'm making it easy." Richard turned to Claudia, panic now clinging to his voice. "This is a joke, right? He doesn't have that kind of money." But Claudia said nothing. She already knew. She had assumed leaving me meant moving on to something better. Now she wasn't so sure. Marcus chuckled. "Google him," he said. Whispers rippled through the room. Fingers tapped on phones. Faces changed. Eyes widened. A gasp from the back. "No way." Another voice. "Wait, he's—" Richard grabbed Claudia's phone, scanned the screen, his face drained of color. Shock, then dread. I watched him break, watched every ounce of certainty slip from his arrogant frame. Then he grabbed my arm. "Wait," he said, voice low, pleading. "You made your point. No need to—" "No need to what?" I interrupted. "Show you. What happens when you look down on people?" He swallowed hard. I leaned in, just enough. "Next time, be careful who you underestimate." And then I walked away. Behind me, the room buzzed, not with admiration, but revelation. I wasn't the man they thought I was. I wasn't the dropout anymore. I was the only person in that room who mattered. I wasn't a dropout. I wasn't a failure. I was one of the most renowned pianists in the world, an artist with a global audience, a net worth that eclipsed Richard's tenfold. And the worst part? I had never needed to flaunt it. Richard's jaw tightened so hard I thought he might snap a molar. He turned back to Claudia, face pale. "Did you know?" he demanded. Claudia said nothing, because she had no defense. She'd left me behind years ago, convinced I would fade into irrelevance. Now, on her wedding night, surrounded by the very people she wanted to impress, she was forced to confront the truth. Richard took a shaky breath, reaching for control. "Look," he said, voice low and measured. "Let's not be rash. You don't actually have to close your account. Let's be reasonable." "Rash?" I lifted an eyebrow. He swallowed hard. "Maybe we should talk." I considered letting him squirm, dragging this out a bit longer, but I was already bored. I turned to Claudia. "Funny how things work out, isn't it?" I mused. She didn't respond. She couldn't, because for all her power, her status, her carefully curated life, she had lost. Not because I wanted revenge, not because I'd plotted anything, but because life, as it tends to do, had evened the score. I walked toward the exit. Richard's voice followed. "You're not really closing your account, are you?" I didn't look back. Just smirked. "I'll think about it." And with that, I left the ballroom, left behind a wedding destined to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Outside, the night air was crisp against my skin as I descended the grand staircase. I hadn't expected much when I received Claudia's invitation. Maybe she sent it to prove something, that she'd moved on, that she had won. But judging by her face back there, she knew she hadn't. The city glowed in the distance, golden and detached, a world she had built and tried to thrive in. And yet, all it had taken was one evening to unravel the illusion. At the bottom of the steps, just as I was about to call a car, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. "Wait," I sighed. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Claudia stood at the top of the stairs, backlit by ballroom lights. Still poised. Still elegant. But I saw the cracks now, her performance slipping. She walked down slowly, no longer the unshakable CEO, just Claudia. The woman who had once curled up beside me as I played. The woman who walked away. "We need to talk," she said softly. "There's nothing left to say." She shook her head, stunned I was really walking away. "I was wrong about you. About everything." I let out a humorless chuckle, glancing at the sky. "What part?" I asked. "The part where you thought I'd never be anything? Or the part where you assumed I'd always be waiting for you to realize you were wrong?" She flinched. "You never asked," I said. "You never cared to know." Her voice wavered. "You have no idea how many times I thought about calling you, about asking if—" "If what?" I cut in. "If I'd changed? If I'd finally become the man you thought I should be?" She swallowed, but I didn't stop. "You didn't leave because I lacked ambition. You left because I didn't chase the ambition you respected." Her breath hitched. "And that's okay," I added. "You made your choice. I made mine. The difference is, I never regretted mine." Silence stretched between us. She started, then sighed. "I just wanted to know if you were happy." I smiled, small, knowing. "I was happy the moment I stopped needing your approval." She opened her mouth, but no words came. There it was, the realization. That I hadn't been waiting for her, that she had lost something she could never reclaim. I turned and walked away for the final time. Inside, Richard would be spinning, guests whispering, stories being born. And Claudia? She'd put on her perfect smile for the cameras. But when the music faded and the guests went home, She would lie awake, haunted by the truth. She had built the perfect life, and still lost. Continues with Marcus and the piano sequence if you'd like me to polish that section too. I raised an eyebrow, barely containing my amusement. Should I be concerned? Depends, Marcus replied. Are you concerned about the fact that the entire wedding is trending? I blinked. Trending? What the hell are you talking about? Marcus laughed. Just check social media. Oh, and before you do, don't say I didn't warn you. I ended the call and immediately pulled up my phone, tapping into one of the news apps I rarely used. There it was. CEO's wedding becomes a night to remember for all the wrong reasons. Curious now, I scrolled. Post after post dissected. Everything, from Richard's arrogance to the exact moment he realized he'd insulted the wrong man. One video had already gone viral, the moment I said, I'll start by closing my $700 million account at your bank. Caption, the art of a silent flex. I exhaled, shaking my head in disbelief. I had spent years avoiding attention, staying far from the spotlight, and now the internet had caught on, and they were loving it. The comments? Brutal. Hilarious. Imagine marrying a man who doesn't even know his wife's ex could buy his company 3 times over. Richard. Why are you even here? Me. Just checking if my money's still safe in your wife's bank. Claudia's face when she realized she fumbled the bag. Priceless. I set my phone down on the counter. For years, Claudia and I had led separate lives. No overlap, no interference, until last night. Now our names were back in the same sentence, just not in the way she had hoped. And I knew she would hate every second of it. The thought made me chuckle as I wandered into the kitchen to brew a fresh cup of coffee. But just as I took my first sip, my phone buzzed again. Claudia. I stared at the screen, debated answering. I had nothing left to say to her. I walked away last night for a reason, and yet, curiosity won. I sighed and answered. Claudia. Silence. Then a soft sigh. I assume you've seen the news. I smirked. Did you really think I wouldn't? She gave a dry laugh, but there was no humor in it. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I leaned against the counter. And how exactly was it supposed to go? She hesitated. I didn't invite you to humiliate you. I scoffed. No? Then why did Richard feel so comfortable trying to insult me in front of everyone? Another pause. He didn't know who you were. That much was obvious. I thought you would have told me, she said. That caught me off guard. Told you what? That you became this. I shook my head. You never asked, Claudia. She sighed again. There it was, the regret. Not just from last night, but for everything. For walking away, for assuming I'd never be anything. For realizing too late that she was wrong. But I wasn't giving her the satisfaction of a redemption arc. I don't know what you expect me to say, I said evenly. But whatever it is, I'm not interested. I figured, she said softly. A heavy silence settled between us. I knew this was the last time we'd ever speak, and somehow I was okay with that. I hope you're happy, she said, her voice quieter now. I am, I answered simply, because for the first time in years I truly meant it. I ended the call and placed my phone face down on the counter. It was over. No more unfinished business. No more what-ifs, just me, my music, and the life I had built on my own terms. The silence after the call felt different, clean, like the final note of a song played exactly as it was meant to be. I stood in my kitchen, coffee cooling in my hand, and realized something. This wasn't the kind of over that leaves you aching. This was peace, the real kind. Claudia and I had crossed paths one last time, and now our worlds were spinning, away from each other for good. I had been given the final word, not just in that conversation, but in how life played out, I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her regret. I didn't need Richard to suffer beyond the humiliation he brought on himself. All I needed was what I already had. With a soft breath, I turned to the one thing that always made sense: music. My fingers found the keys of the grand piano, and without thinking, I began to play. A soft, bittersweet melody. Not for Claudia, not for the internet. For me. A reminder that I had never needed her validation. That I had always been enough. Halfway through, my phone lit up. I almost ignored it, until I saw the sender. Marcus. He'd sent a video. I sighed, shaking my head. Of course he did. I hit play. It was a recording from the wedding hall after I had left. Shaky camera, clear audio. Richard stood by a table, red-faced and furious, snapping at Claudia. What the hell were you thinking inviting him? Claudia looked exhausted, her face blank. Richard, please. No, don't please me. Do you realize how many people are laughing at us right now? It wasn't supposed to go like this. Well, it did, he shouted. And now I look like an idiot. One of his business partners tried to calm him. Maybe we should sit. No, this was supposed to be about me. And instead, Marcus's voice cut through, amused. Oh, come on, Richard. You're just mad because you found out the hard way that you're not the most important man in your wife's life tonight. The gasp in the background, priceless, Richard snapped. You think this is funny? He lunged toward Marcus, only for someone to hold him back. That guy's a nobody. No, Marcus said coolly. That guy didn't even have to try to bring you down. He just existed, and it was enough. The video ended. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Perfect. Richard had spent the whole night trying to prove something, only to learn too late. He'd never even been in the competition. And Claudia, she had miscalculated everything. I texted Marcus, me. That video just made my whole morning. His reply came instantly. Marcus, knew you'd appreciate it. Oh, and in case you were wondering, Richard didn't even go home last night. Stormed off in the middle of the night. Classy, huh? Me. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Marcus sent a string of laughing emojis. Marcus. So what now? Villain origin story complete. I chuckled. Me. Nothing changes. I keep playing. Keep living. That's all I ever needed. A pause. Marcus. You know, you really won. I set the phone down, fingers grazing the keys again. Yeah, I did. Not because I had more money than Richard. Not because I embarrassed him. Not because Claudia regretted everything. Because I was never trying to win. I had just been living. And that was the real victory. With a deep breath, I let my hands fall to the keys once more. The notes rose, full and rich, echoing through the quiet morning. No cameras, no audience, no expectations, just music, just me. And for the first time in a long time, that was more than enough.